Hello, welcome to the show, guys. Another week of the Irish Fantasy Punt here, talking about fantasy football and dynasty in general. I'm here with Shane and Jamie. Say hello, boys. Shane first.
Howdy.
What's the crack, guys? We're back again for
Again,
a
we've a bit of
puntastic episode.
there's a bit of a delay on you, actually, Shane. There, I just don't know, is it just you being slow or whether it's the internet, but it's one or the other.
It's probably a bit of both, boy. let's be fair. So I
Jamie,
don't pretend to be the sharpest tool in the shed.
you can always tell how Jamie's week's going to go if you look at his Instagram at the weekend. At one point, we saw a story that said "Hunt hip, hun riding," with a picture of his girlfriend in the picture.
I don't think she realised what was going on until the next day.
Did she comment on it when she saw it the next day?
Well, yeah, I said, "Oh, it's a dent on my Instagram story. It's hilarious." And she's like, "What was it?" And she looks at it, it's like, "What the fuck?" Well, she found it funny. It was fine. I was like, "It's just a saying, love, you know."
If you were as bad as what you were after that, poor old Marie must have been in bits, man.
No, she was actually grand, weirdly enough. Yeah. I just went to town that, like, so I started off, I had about 3 pints for every pint she was drinking, like, and it was just going down so well. I was like, Josh, we're just gonna keep going. And then I'd say it was by half time in the Cork match, I was drinking Jaeger bombs. It was just not a
That was a Cork match on. That was like fucking. That would have been like 5 in the day, like.
Oh, it's about 4 or 5. Yeah, I was getting a bit tired, so it's like, I'll have a Jaeger bomb.
Have a Jaeger bomb at 5 o'clock in the day. Oh,
that's just a
what
bit.
were you like at 3 in the morning?
Not good, like, at all. Yeah, I smoke a bag at 3 in the morning.
Did you not see the random dude that was in his story, though?
Oh, is it my story?
I didn't do it. No, was there some random guy? Was there?
I don't know. Oh, maybe it was it. You sent it into the group chat, was it? He was going on about this random guy and sending him to one of the girls, and she was like, what? And he was just like, yeah. I just randomly changed the subject then, and we were like, what's going on? I was like, Jamie, who the fuck is that guy?
He said he was from Clonmel. I thought he might know you.
Oh, I think that was he looked like he was about 50, man. I'm not that old.
I was trying to wait till the next thing he got kicked out. I was like, he's gone in here.
So. That sounds like it's someone from Clonmel anyway.
You probably introduced him to the bouncer. You probably brought him up. Oh, here, look, you met him.
I probably did, Joe.
Oh, he couldn't even tell us his name.
I never got his name. I can't remember.
Well, it'd be great if you took a photo of him and put on Hunt Hip Hun riding on your Instagram story. Tim's getting bent over the barrel this week. Jamie's drunken debauchery aside, we better plow on with the news. So a quick rundown of the show this week. We'll run through the NFL news as brief as it is, and then we'll look at the AFC free agents. And we actually don't have many trades from the league to talk about this week. So we're going to discuss a terrible trade I made and a terrible trade we saw on Twitter. Well, I don't know if you guys think the one from Twitter is terrible, but from our pre-show chat, you didn't like my trade. So we'll get into that later. But on to the news.
Don't like you.
Unnecessarily harsh, Shane. Okay.
We'll start with Carolina is the most likely spot for Baker Mayfield. Shane, you had a good point about this before we came on air. Do you want to share it with the show?
I feel like he's just laughing uncontrollably. I think we've actually broken Shane.
Sorry, no. I was getting a phone call there. I had to take off the headset for a sec, boys. Sorry about that. Unprofessional of me. What were you saying, Dan?
I might go back and just cut this out of the show, but anyway. Carolina, most likely landing spot for Baker Mayfield, and you had a good point about this before we went on air.
Yeah, we were saying, like, they've been down this road before. they've gone from one bad QB to another. And as I said, now you may as well just stick with Sammy Darnold and hope that your shit QB. That's what did they say about shit? Shit, you hope throw some shit and hope it sticks.
It's an exclusive Tipperary saying.
All tip sayings there.
Fling some shit against the wall and hope it sticks.
That is Baker Mayfield's career.
Yeah, well, hey, Sam Darnold's career. Baker Mayfield, he can stick his shit to someone else's wall.
Poor Baker. He's been very unlucky. Like, he's got a lot of injuries, and every time he gets back, he gets more injuries. Like, he was never going to be the guy he thought he was. But
I think it's because he comes with such an attitude and such a kind of almost an annoying demeanor, the way he kind of handles himself. That I think that's why people kind of get on him a bit more as well. Like, if you're going to talk that much, maybe back it up a bit as well.
Yeah, he really tanked the Browns, like, didn't he? To be fair.
And that's a hard franchise to tank as well.
Like, when he was drafted, what is it? How long has he in the NFL now? 3-4 years?
This must be year 5, isn't it? This is the 5th-year option, I think. So
is it? Jesus, year 5. Jeez, he's there a while. Actually, yeah, maybe he's straight.
Is it?
But
is it his 5th year? When was he drafted?
But I got distracted. What's my point? The 5 years of Baker Mayfield just threw me off altogether. I was like, what?
I don't think Baker tanked the Browns, though. I think that's unfair to say. Like, the Browns were competing for first draft picks. That's what they wanted, the first overall draft pick. That's all they were competing for years. And Baker is the first QB in how long to take him to the playoffs. Like, he made him competitive again. It's just he's not good enough for what they want to do. The Browns want to go off now and compete for Super Bowls, and Baker is a level below what you need for that. But, like, he's not the worst guy in the league. There's plenty QBs worse than Baker Mayfield. It's just his attitude. Dan's right with his attitude is terrible.
Yeah, maybe tank's a bad word. Maybe he has been unlucky, to be fair, but he was drafted to win or at least get to a Super Bowl.
100%.
And because he has not lived up to that opportunity, now they're a mid-range team, and now they're going to have to try and rebuild again.
Yeah, well, I can't see him making the playoffs this year.
No.
I think that's going to be, well, maybe now look, Amari Cooper. I like Amari, but again, he's a hometown player. And is Jarvis Landry still on the team, or did he move on, or what was the story with Landry in the end? Did Landry end up staying?
I think he was to get cut or something, wasn't he? Because he was a massive roster bonus or something, and then they asked him to renegotiate, and he didn't renegotiate, and then I think he became a free agent, but I don't actually remember.
The Landry to the Saints, I think I heard today.
Yeah, that's here now. Jarvis Landry may wait to pick the Saints or Browns until after 2022 draft. So he hasn't decided
he's gone. So, like, they're really, like, the run game is going to be phenomenal. Obviously, we know that. We've seen it. But other than the run game, like, Amari Cooper, he's a great receiver, great route runner, but he's not going to do it for you. He showed that with the Cowboys. He's not going to do it on away days. And he's been traded so much now. I think, Dan, you actually made this point that when a guy who's a number one receiver has been traded as many times as what Amari Cooper has, you really have to kind of look and see why has he been traded so much. Now, you could say it was down to the money with the Cowboys, but there has to be an element of it that he just underperformed that contract. Like, so are the Browns going to be that competitive on offense? I think if you can stop the run game, you've stopped the Browns. Their defense is still pretty good, but any team that has Myles Garrett on it, Denzel Ward, you're going to be good. Like,
I suppose that's why they sold their soul for Deshaun Watson as well, though. So when the run game does go down, they have this wild card player they can use.
Yeah, but again, with Watson, like, he's a great QB. Don't get me wrong, but he had no weapons in Houston, and he did absolutely nothing. He was terrible when they had nothing left on offense. So, like, he's going to have 2 targets, the tight end and Amari Cooper, and that's probably going to be it for him. Kareem Hunt out of the backfield, but again, you can only get so many yards thrown into your back at a flat pass. Like, that's not going to work 9 times out of 10. Like, so I think Watson, yeah, he's good, but again, is he a Super Bowl caliber QB? I don't know. I think a lot of people put him up on the pedestal. He's proved nothing, shown nothing. So what's he won in his career to prove that he's that upper echelon of quarterback? To me, he isn't that.
Very surprised
this
if he
comes
played
from the
every
Cowboy
game
fans.
Yeah, but sure, I don't put Dak Prescott up on that pedestal. Don't be bring up my Cowboys into it. All right, okay, Mr. Cardinals crying over Kyler Murray leaving. That put you back in your box.
He hasn't left yet.
There's still hope.
More Browns news. Pro Bowl cornerback Denzel Ward, a 5-year, $100.5 million extension. Includes $71.25 million guaranteed per sources. At age 24, Ward is the highest paid cornerback in NFL history. We don't really cover a lot of the defensive side of the ball because we try and aim for the fantasy side of it a bit more, but it is big news. So we said we cover it. Denzel Ward has reset the market essentially for cornerbacks. There's a bit of a delay there now, Shane.
Sorry, bud. I thought you were passing that to Jamie. Sorry, that was my bad.
I'm using the delay as an excuse there.
All right, well, don't mention me. Mention Jamie next time. I just talked about the Browns 2 minutes ago, but yeah, Denzel Ward, great cornerback, young guy. He deserves to be paid, and look, the Browns have the money there to spend it, splash the cash on him, and it's nice to see a guy when he performs well getting paid well. So no issues with that. Good cornerback.
Jamie, you still thinking about Tim from the pub at the weekend?
Oh, Tim. Yeah, look, I suppose there's much to say about it, really. Fair play to him. Got the money. Browns probably need a guy like that, when eventually Watson decides not to play because he's in jail. So fair play to him. Go over it. Got to be good on some side of the ball.
Okay, we'll move on to I'm a whingy little wide receiver corner. So we have AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, all due for contract renewals, all throwing the toys out of the pram. Do we think all these guys re-sign with the clubs they're currently at?
No,
they definitely don't. Like, Deebo seems to be gone. He seems to be definitely gone. But like a lot is just tied out of the pram. I want my money because everybody else is getting paid. Like, there's been some like big wide receivers this off season that just got the money, got paid. So to be honest, why not? Why not just throw all the tide out of the pram, see what you can get? Just seems to be money around the league at the moment. Get your move, get paid. It's a short career, Yeah,
the 49ers did come out and say they won't trade Deebo, but Deebo said he will be traded. So it's kind of a strange one that we did hear rumors linking him with the Packers earlier on today. But we were saying ourselves, Jamie, that we think the Packers are just going to be linked with every wide receiver that ever becomes available for the rest of the season now.
Absolutely everyone. They're linked with AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin. You name it. Whoever's even like a half free agent at this point is linked with the Packers. But like, the Packers need to make a move. They need to make a move on a big wide receiver. As good as Alan Lazard is, like, he's not a wide receiver one. And how good is Sammy Watkins?
Yeah, I was about to say, you did sign Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, but I'd much rather Lazard over Sammy Watkins. So they need to make a move on someone, and if someone like Deebo is there and is kind of willing to be traded, why not throw it at him? Because what else are you gonna pick up? There isn't much in the draft really that's going to be good from this year, so might as well draft up.
Shane, what would you pay for Deebo in a trade? Like in an NFL trade, Shane, what would you pay for him? It's
tough to say because I think everyone, when they look at Deebo, sees him as a back and as a wide receiver. He's a multi-talented guy, but Deebo came out and said himself that he wants to play as a true wide receiver now. So to me, that damages his value. But I understand why Debo's saying that. When you play as a running backs have a shorter career. Wide receivers can have a very long career compared to a running back anyway. Like top guys can play up till 35, 36 and stay kind of going. But running backs, they don't, unless you're special, you don't get there like the likes of AP and those guys. You don't get to stay on that long. So to me, that damages his trade value. So if he's refusing to play, that damages trade value. You could probably, the 49ers are going to want a couple of firsts for him. One first to probably be what they will end up getting if they trade him. Maybe a fourth or a fifth thrown in with it. But if I was an NFL team, I think I'd be lowballing, man, and going for a second, maybe 2 seconds and a sixth or something.
A lot of the trades I've seen have kind of
away.
been, like a lot of the trades I've seen have been like a first and a second. No one seems to be giving much less than that.
His value has gone down for me. The statement of saying he wants to be only a wide receiver, not to run the ball anymore, and the fact that he looks like he's going to refuse to play and you have to pay him. So there's 3 things killing his value for him there off the 49ers. Like it's he could sit out and leave. Like the 49ers will lose out then. I don't think they're going to lose out though. I think if this ends up in a standoff till like weeks 5, 6, 7 coming up to the deadline, I think he goes for cheap, man. I think a couple of seconds will do it.
Yeah, like you're right. It does him not wanting to be a running back, but you can see why he doesn't want to be a running back.
Oh yeah,
Like he's just dramatically shortening his career for nothing. He's going to get paid less as well because it's like Tyson Hill. He was quarterback and tight end, getting tight end money, but doing a quarterback job. Debo probably sees the exact same thing there. He's a wide receiver, but he's going to get running back money.
The 49ers actually have very little cap space. I didn't realize this at all. I thought they would be kind of okay because I don't really know who they've paid a lot of money to.
Yeah, that is shocking, actually.
Do they have Bosa paid, or is he up this year to be paid?
Ooh, I think he could be. I think he's next year. I haven't seen a Bosa contract. I don't think.
Yeah, I think.
I don't remember seeing a Bosa contract.
He's up for the end of this year, as far as I remember. They'll have
to
pay him or
cap
tag him
next year.
Should they
have a lot of cap next year in 2023?
Yeah, sure. Jimmy G's deal is up then as well, isn't it?
Yeah. They gave Jimmy G a load of money, didn't they?
Yeah. Hey, sure. He'll still be the starter next year, so it's all the one, man.
Can he play wide receiver?
No, but Trey Lance probably can. That's where he'll end up now.
The other option here is that the 49ers just bring a truckload of money and dump it at Deebo Samuel's door, and that's the end of that. And the same can be said for AJ Brown. I imagine Tennessee have to pay him. I don't think they really have much of an option.
Well, I do think AJ Brown will end up staying because, like, Tennessee is a good franchise, and they're in a good place at the minute. Like, Tennessee, I reckon, will be a contender again next year. Like, they've a decent team there, and if you keep Henry fit again for a full year like that, he'll win you games by himself. And AJ Brown now, no Julio there. He's going to be, well, he always was the number one guy there, but Tannehill's been playing pretty solid since he got there. I don't see anything wrong with Tennessee. And I can see AJ Brown playing.
No,
but it was kind of like a fabrication, I think. We didn't see him at all.
I could see AJ Brown out of the 3 guys is the one I could see staying. I don't blame Debo for wanting to go when the franchise doesn't seem to we talk about this all the time with Jimmy G. He actually comes up frequently enough on the podcast, but I think it's so hard to trade Jimmy G when he's brought you to 2 NFC championship games. That's how do you get out of trading him? But then you have picked a guy, 3rd overall pick, to be the future of your franchise. Can you realistically sit him again for another year? The other thing that I think everyone is missing is who's really going to trade for Jimmy G and take on his contract. and then have to renegotiate with him as well. And because he's got 2 championship games on his resume, he's going to want to be paid. Like, so it's a rough one to get in and out of. Where do you just sit Jimmy G and leave him out? So like, I could see why Debo also wants to go. He doesn't want to play under a kind of a rookie QB. He wants to go and win something. He can't see the 49ers doing that maybe for another 2 years. He wants to go and win now. Same with McLaurin. McLaurin, he's had to deal with like backup QBs for nearly his whole career. And like, Commanders now just went off and got Wentz as if that's some big, oh, look who we got. Wentz hasn't been good since his rookie year. He's terrible. He was awful last year in what was a fairly good Colts team. He was carried by Jonathan Taylor. Washington don't have a person like that to carry Carson Wentz. They have a very good defense. So did the Colts. But they had Jonathan Taylor. I don't like Gibson. I don't think he's anywhere near the caliber of Taylor. So I can see why McLaurin wants to leave. But I can't see why AJ Brown wants to leave. That makes no sense to me. He's on a good competitive team that want to win and can win now.
Yeah, I think AJ Brown's as a whole, I see everyone else getting paid, so I'm just going to throw a title at him and I'm going to get paid. I couldn't see him going anywhere else out of the 3 of them. Debo's definitely going to go, and I couldn't really see McLaurin going anywhere either, to be honest. I think he'll stay where he is.
McLaurin actually has like the least amount of chatter around him. Like the other two have a bit of chatter, but like the one you would expect to actually want to move would be McLaurin, like Shane says, because he has no quarterback, and that's the least one we're actually seeing any rumors about. So it's a bit odd that way. I would have thought maybe it's all happening in the background. I don't know, but I definitely wouldn't be trading for Debo in a dynasty league just purely because you don't know what's happening there, and you are getting a worse passing quarterback going in. Well, in my opinion, you are. You're going to get Trey Lance, and he's not going to be able to pass as well. AJ Brown, I'd be pretty sure he will end up back in Tennessee, and I feel like Terry McLaurin will just end up back in Washington because that's, by the sounds of it, what's happening. Like
Terry McLaurin, man, I think he gets a lot of stick at times. I really like McLaurin as a wide receiver. It's just he play like when a franchise can't even pick its own name, like that is badly run. Like, you know, and when is the last?
Very good point. Like, but, pick a name, lads.
But like, when was the last time the Commanders were actually relevant? When was the last time that they went into a playoff situation where you thought the Commanders might actually go on a run here, or the old name that they had might actually go on a run here? I don't ever remember that in any of the years since I've been watching the NFL. I don't ever remember thinking Washington looked like a serious contender this year.
Did they stumble into the playoffs 2 years ago because the NFC East was awful? It was like 8-8 or something like that.
Dallas had lost. That was the year we lost Dak. And Philadelphia, was it Philadelphia and Washington got in?
Yeah, and it was like the worst playoff run I've ever seen.
Ridiculously bad, like.
On that depressing note, we'll move on from the wide receiver carousel of prying to the free agency breakdown for the AFC. So we'll quickly run through this the same way we did the NFC ones, just to give a lay of the land where every team stands on the way into the draft. So we'll start with the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East. So we have Matt Barkley signed a 1-year deal to be the backup quarterback along with Case Keenum, who came in a trade from the Browns. We also have Jamison Crowder, running back Duke Johnson. Stephon Diggs signed his massive deal. Jake Kumaro is re-signing on a 1-year deal, and Isaiah McKenzie is also re-signing on a 2-year deal. OJ Howard is signing a 1-year deal, and then there is multiple offensive linemen. They've signed 4 offensive linemen. Actually 5. The center Mitch Morse as well has signed a 2-year, $19.5 million extension. And then on the defensive side, they've added a few defensive linemen, and then they've put Von Miller on their team as well, giving him a massive contract. So that'll be interesting to see. Jamie, do you have any thoughts on how the Buffalo Bills have moved on and tried to go on their hunt for a Super Bowl?
They've really signed a lot of people. I didn't think you were going to stop scrolling there for a second. I thought to stand out there as Von Miller, obviously. They probably needed to tighten up the defense a small bit. He's obviously going to do that. fancy implications here. There isn't really much. Really, you're not gonna be looking at the likes of Jameson Crowder or Duke Johnson. Well, sure, geez, for Stephen Diggs in the middle there. I didn't actually see him there, but yeah, Stephen Diggs, sure, he needs big money. John, they're definitely going for the Super Bowl this year. If you want a guy to go for in your drafts, go Stephen Diggs. He's definitely going to get a bit of ball this year. Other than that, there isn't much else there really, is there? There's a lot of backups.
Would Crowder be worth, just throwing some crap at someone in a trade and getting Jamison Crowder? Like he'd probably get you 10 or 12 points in a PPR every week. But I suppose it depends on the passing volume from Josh Allen, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. I suppose who's the other wide receiver there at the Bills at the moment?
Is that guy who scored the 3 touchdowns in the playoff weeks?
Gabriel Davis.
Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis, yeah.
Yeah, but he has a lot to prove as well. So yeah, maybe Crowder. They seem to like McKenzie too. McKenzie got a bit of ball in the last year as like a wide receiver 3. So don't go down that route unless you're desperate, obviously. But a guy to look out for,
Shane, would you take a punt on OJ Howard?
Yeah, he was the one guy that I was kind of looking at, and I was like, that is the most interesting thing that they kind of done on the offensive side of the ball of actual free agent pickups, not re-signing anyone, but free agent pickups was OJ Howard, because I like Knox, but I reckon the way Josh Allen likes to play and the fact that they've null and void run game, shall we say, unless Zach Moss absolutely surprises everyone this year. But if they run out of a 2 tight end set, Josh Allen can always come out of that, and he'd at least have 1 tight end going upfield and 1 guy sitting in blocking. And I think OJ Howard has been a ridiculously underutilized weapon he was with the Bucs, wasn't it, for what now, 2-3 seasons now?
Yeah, because he had a bad injury one of the years.
Yeah, and also Cameron Braid played really well, and they brought in Gronk, and he didn't get the opportunities he probably should have got. So he'd be an interesting one for me to watch this year. But I think the Bills massively messed up not going after one of the 2 guys that we're about to talk about here in the next segment at running back.
So if we moved on to the Dolphins, then they have Teddy Bridgewater signed on a 1-year contract to be the backup for Tua. They also have signed running backs Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert. They've also signed a fullback, Alec Ingold, on a 2-year deal worth $7.5 million. So that's an interesting little tidbit. They're obviously going to employ that San Francisco running style. Well, that's why they went and got that OC, obviously. The big news is the trade when they acquired Tyreek Hill. They've also added Trent Sherfield from the 49ers on a 1-year deal, and Preston Williams is re-signed on a 1-year deal. Cedric Wilson has signed a 3-year deal, and then Mike Gesicki is signed on the franchise tag at tight end. They've also signed tight end Durham Smith, re-signing him. I don't really know him. He's obviously the blocking tight end. And then they actually snapped up the left tackle for themselves in Teron Armstead. So they're really, really looking to help Tua this year. You can see that just by the signings. And then on the defense, they've added a lot of pieces, and then they re-signed Emmanuel Ogba as well. So that really helps their defense as well. But Xavier Howard also agreed an extension. So you can see they're locking up a lot of their pieces on defenses. And then Jamie's pet love of a punter is there as well, and Thomas Morstead signed a free agent.
Let's go, Big Tom. Big Tom.
Shane, kick us off there. You want to talk about the running backs?
Yeah, just out of, like, if anyone's a Bills fan out there, like, I would be gutted that both Edmonds and Mostert were both up. Like, 2 of those guys, I think, are better than what is currently in Buffalo at the minute. You can love me or hate me for saying it, but in my opinion, both those guys are better than what Buffalo have. One of them, on the money that they came in for, like, would have been brilliant. Mostert especially. I know he carries a huge injury risk, but you'd still have useless and worse to back him up, like, so you'd have been all right. For me, the Dolphins are the team to watch next year. I think they're going to be one of the most explosive offenses to watch. The new coach and everything coming in, all the weapons they've brought in, the fact they've beefed up their O-line a bit, their defense, they're after re-signing 2 vital pieces in Ogba and Xavier Howard. I really like the Dolphins coming into next year. I think we were talking about this before as well. I think it's shit or bust for Tua this year. I think if Tua doesn't perform this year, they don't have a good playoff run, at minimum, a good playoff run, they're moving on from Tua. He's dust. Forget about it. Thanos snaps him out of existence.
Getting the Marvel references in. Jamie, any thoughts on the Dolphins quickly there?
Yeah, it's the big question mark. It depends what Tua can do. Other than that, like, there's a fantastic set of players there. I really like the most certain Edmonds. I like Edmonds as a running back. I think he's very good, and it's great to see him get his chance, especially with the Dolphins, because they don't have a running back. And like Gesicki in the franchise tag, we know how good he is. He already played with Tua for a while. They're gonna do well, and obviously Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill speaks for himself, but again, depends what Tua does.
Yeah, we've been into this in detail last week, so we'll move on to the Patriots. Quarterback Brian Hoyer re-signing on a 2-year contract. T.Y. Montgomery coming out of nowhere to sign a free agent deal, along with James White is re-signing on a 2-year deal. Devontae Parker was acquired in the trade from the former mentioned Dolphins, and offensive tackle Trent Brown is re-signing on a 2-year, $22 million deal. They didn't really do a whole lot else then. They signed a few defensive pieces like Devin McCourtney and Malcolm Butler. Jabril Peppers on a 1-year contract for basically nothing, $2 million. Like the kicker, Nick Folk. There you go, Jamie, another kicker.
Yes.
But the Patriots they got themselves a weapon in Devontae Parker in a trade, but they didn't do a whole lot really in free agency. Anything to think on that one, Shane?
Not really. The Patriots are usually one of the more, they're kind of one of the cleverer teams in free agency, but I reckon since Tom Brady is gone, the attraction to New England to go take that pay cut and come in on the New England prices is gone. So their lack of signing people is probably due in some way, shape, or form to that. I'm just delighted they brought back Nick Folk. Man almost got me to the playoffs last year in fantasy by himself with all my injuries. It is 20 and 30 point weeks. I love Nick Folk.
Jamie, do you have anything to add on the Patriots?
Nick Folk, yeah, what a man. Not really. Didn't really do much, really. Parker's a good signing, but he's not really fantasy worthy, really, is he?
You take a punt, like someone has to catch the ball there, but I'm not going to be him. You're probably going to take him, 6th round in a redraft, maybe 6th or 7th round.
You're not going to go too high. If you're looking at the likes of Parker, you're in a bit of trouble.
New York Jets, Joe Flacco re-signing on a 1-year deal. Yay! Mike White signed his original round tender on a 1-year contract, $2.5 million. Tevin Coleman re-signed. Who signed off on this? Like who?
It's the Jets, man. Again, we talk about badly run franchises. When is the last time the Jets were relevant? Who cares?
Let's move on. Wide receiver Braxton Berrios has re-signed. Braxton Berrios is all right. Tyler Conklin, tight end, signed on a free agent deal. CJ Uzama signed on a 3-year, $24 million deal. A few offensive line pieces, a few defensive line pieces. Greg Zuerlein signs as a kicker.
Greg the leg.
The Jets just really didn't do anything, did they? Hopefully they have a good draft.
CJ Uzama went from a team that were competing for a Super Bowl to the Jets. So, like, if you're a player who does that, right? He went there for 24 million. Like, if you're a guy who goes off a good player and you go to the Jets, you're literally going there to get money. You don't want to win. You don't care about winning. You just want to get money. That's what the Jets are. The Jets we should just get rid of them. We should go to 31 teams and just leave the Jets. We already have a team in New York. Just fuck off.
Jamie, I'm actually not going to stop on the Jets for your opinion because I don't think we need to add anything else. AFC North. No. That's going back. That's the harshest thing ever. Just getting rid of a franchise. They have fans, man.
Go support the Giants. Or fucking leave New York.
Why would you support the Giants?
They play in Jersey. how can they call themselves New York and they play in New Jersey? That's another thing that annoys me, because don't all New Yorkers hate New Jersey? What the fuck is wrong with them people?
I have to say, you've got a feel for the Jets fans, though. They're a very loyal bunch, obviously. But
great set of fans, like.
Yeah.
Before you upset
the fans
everyone.
The fans actually deserve a round of applause. They're the best set of fans ever. We're moving on to the AFC North. Baltimore Ravens have done very little. They signed fullback Patrick Ricard to a 3-year deal. Offensive tackle, defensive tackle, Calais Campbell's re-signing for 2 years, $12.5 million. Marcus Williams signs a 5-year, $70 million contract. I don't think there's anything we can really discuss fantasy-wise here for the Ravens. Jamie, do you want to say anything?
They've done absolutely nothing. I'm actually surprised at how little they've done. I know we've heard really nothing much out of the Ravens, but do you know, I thought they'd signed someone. That goes Sammy Watkins. That's about it.
I think Marcus Williams is actually the only guy they've actually brought in, is he? Because Pierce, Calais Campbell, Moses, and Ricard. Well, maybe actually I might be wrong about the tackle, Morgan Moses, but Ricard, Pierce, Calais Campbell, and Burns, they were all already on the team. I know it says Michael Pierce signed a 3-year deal, but he was there last year. He played for the Ravens last year. And Ricard, so did Ricard. He played for the Ravens last year too. So, they've literally brought in one player.
You would think they'd want something on offense. You think they need a wide receiver. Well, I suppose they don't really. Jackson's just going to run the ball, but
he can't throw the ball anyway. They have Bateman and Hollywood, and he can't use them.
I suppose,
can't throw it past. Yeah, he can't throw it past Mark Andrews anyway, so what difference does it make?
What's the point in bringing in a guy to stander? It's like...
Gotta pay him money, like. The Bengals signed Brandon Allen to be their backup quarterback on a 1-year deal. Hayden Hurst has signed a 1-year contract. They've bulked up their offensive line a bit just to help. I think that's where they really needed to put the money anyway. They have also signed Eli Apple at cornerback. That was a mistake. Trey Flowers at cornerback. That's another mistake. Jesus, why would you sign those two people? They haven't done anything. They haven't really done a whole lot there. They had a lot of cap space, and they don't seem to have done that much. But here, the offensive line signings might help. So, Shane, anything to add to that?
They basically brought back guys that got them to where they were last season and brought in a heftier O-line. Cowboys fan, I'm sad to see Leal Collins go. I thought he was a good servant and deserved better from the Cowboys franchise at the end. There could have been a place made for him on the team, I think, but he was a good servant to us, and I hope he serves the Bengals well. Bengals are up and coming. I'd like to see him do well again next year.
Yeah, if that broke, don't fix it. Resign the boys and try to tighten up the OL.
We'll move on to the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson acquired in a trade. We've talked about this previously. Jacoby Brissett has signed a 1-year deal to be the backup there, so that's Baker out the door, obviously. Josh Dobbs has also signed a 1-year deal at quarterback. Amari Cooper acquired in a trade from the Dallas Cowboys. Jakeem Grant has also signed a 3-year deal. Tight end David Njoku received the franchise tag. We were all a bit surprised when we heard that news because of the amount of money they had to pay him. They've signed a couple of offensive linemen, a couple of defensive linemen. Gave Denzel Ward that big contract we've already talked about. And they signed a punter and the kicker, Jamie. So there you go.
Jeez. Let's see what jeez.
Do we want to stop and talk about the Browns, or did we give them enough talk in the news section? I think we basically talked about every player they signed that's worth talking about in the news section.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
There's still going to be crap.
Yeah. Basically,
Speaking of teams that could easily be crap this year, the Pittsburgh Steelers have Dwayne Haskins signed an original round restricted free agent tender worth $2.5 million. I don't really know what the situation there will be now with the contract. Yeah, that's not a nice subject to broach. And then QB Mitchell Trubisky signed a 2-year deal, $14.5 million. So Trubisky gets a second go. Wide receiver Miles Boykin is clamoring back out of the graveyard to try and join the Steelers. Offensive tackle, offensive guard, offensive lineman Mason Cole signed a 3-year deal. That was silly. He was not very good for the Cardinals or the Vikings. They signed 3 linebackers, 3 corners, a safety, and a DB to a team that already had a pretty good defense. A few of those are re-signings, obviously, but they're obviously going to try win it with defense again this year and hope their offense can do something with Mitch Trubisky. Shane, any thoughts on this?
No, look, the Steelers, they're in a transition period. It'll be probably a couple of seasons before they're back being competitive again, but it's a good run franchise, and I do think they will be back. They always kind of have been competitive. Just on Dwayne Haskins, I'm assuming that money will be paid to his family, and just suppose we pass on our condolences from the podcast here to the family. Not that they won't hear it, but just nice to be nice.
Nice to be nice. Jamie, do you have anything to add on the Mitch Trubisky, to the patchwork QB? It's probably the right way to run your franchise, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But look, as Jane said, they're in transition. They're not going to win anything. Why pay out big money for someone when you don't have the team around him anyway? So he's a decent quarterback. There's no harm. Why not?
You're bringing up transition there. That's a great segue into the AFC South and the Houston Texans.
They are not in transition. Transition means you're eventually going to get better.
That's fucked him out in the league.
Yeah, actually, yeah. We could just go down to 30 teams.
Yeah, but if you had an expansion draft where all the Houston Texans players get dropped in, there would be only one player anyone would care about, and it would be Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, well, that all the better. That means a load of bums don't have jobs anymore. Look, these guys get paid multi-million-dollar contracts that guys off the street could probably go in and do the same job. Yeah, come on,
Are you saying Kyle Allen is not worth the millions they're paying him? We'll run through the list quickly. QB Jeff Driscoll re-signed a 1-year contract. QB Kyle Allen signs a 1-year contract. Royce Freeman re-signed to a 1-year contract. Marlon Mack is coming out of the shadows of Jonathan Taylor to sign a 1-year deal worth $2 million. Dare Ogunbowale has signed a 2-year contract. Jeez, they're just signing all of the bad running backs. Fullback Andy Yanovich. Wide receiver Chris Connolly, and then Brandon Cook signed that 2-year deal. He got $40 million for himself. Deshaun Hamilton signs a free agent contract along with tight end Pharaoh Brown. And then we have a few offensive line pieces, a defensive tackle, and a crap load of linebackers. So more of the same, we think, for next year from the Texans.
Not Jamie? Very good. Not very good. So stay away from any Texan player. Just don't even go near him.
Well, Brandon Cooks is probably all right.
If you're struggling, but there's no one to throw the ball to him. He can't throw the ball to himself. So what's the point? Don't cause yourself that heartache. There's no point. Just don't do it yourself. Just stay away from Texans.
Mills might be okay. Worst case, he's Drew Lock. Best case,
now you're just really trying to find positives. In a crock of shite, you're trying to find positives now. There's no positives here.
Shane, any opinions on the Texans?
No, they're not even worthy of an opinion.
Oh, Jesus.
I would say fair play to Cooks for getting $40 million for just standing there. That's some go on.
The Indianapolis Colts have made their moves, and they're going to try and go for it this year. They've gone and got Matt Ryan, fair play to them, and then
that is not a sentence that has been formulated by anyone.
That's not a bad trade.
Oh, I like Matty Ice, Mike, but he's not winning you a Super Bowl. Look at the rest of the team. It may as well just be called the Jonathan Taylor Colts. That's all it is.
Johnny and the Colts. Tight end Mo Ali Cox re-signs on a 3-year, $18 million contract. Offensive tackle Matt Pryor re-signed on a 1-year, $5.5. Couple of defensive ends. Yannick Ngakoue is acquired in a trade from the Raiders. Linebackers there. Franklin. Cornerback Stephon Gilmore signed a 2-year, $20 million deal. I'm surprised he got $20 million. But yeah, the Colts have kind of done quiet business, but they haven't done bad business. They had to get out of that Wentz fiasco somehow, and they transitioned quite nicely to a 1-year patch in Matt Ryan, I'd say. Shane, you've given your opinion. Jamie, are you also on the just get Jonathan Taylor? Is Pittman an option with Matt Ryan?
I don't think it's that bad. Yeah, I think Pittman is an option this year. I really do. Like Pittman played well last year. You know, he's a good wide receiver. Like, and Matt Ryan is going to throw the ball a lot better than Wentz did last year. I really do think he's an option this year. You know, I think Matt Ryan. You know, you're probably right. It's probably a patch for a year, but like he's going to be much better than Wentz. So you can't just give the ball. Well, I suppose you can give the ball to Jonathan Taylor all the time, but you don't want to be doing that either. You know, I think the Colts will be good this year. I do. Not Super Bowl good, but you know. Good, like.
We had a conversation about Travis Etienne at the start of the show, and I thought you said he was shite, but you actually just said Jacksonville was shite. So now you get to talk us through Jacksonville. They have signed Zay Jones on a 3-year, $24 million contract. Christian Kirk got the bag when he got a 4-year, $72 million contract. Laquan Treadwell re-signed on a free agent contract. Evan Ingram signs a 1-year deal. Cam Robinson signs the franchise tag for the offensive tackle position. Signed Brandon Schreth, is that how you pronounce that? 3-year, $50 million on the offensive line on the guard position. Tyler Shatley as well. Shatley? I don't know how you say that. He's re-signed on a 2-year deal for no money, so he's obviously not very good. And then a couple of defensive pieces, nothing major really. Signed Darius Williams, 3-year, $30 million contract as well. So Shane, talk us through the glory that is Jacksonville and their free agent window.
They overpaid 2 wide receivers. Laquan Treadwell, meh. Evan Ingram, he's been a has-been for 2 years now. Done.
And he's only been in the league 4 years.
And
he has not been on here for 4 years. That is. I feel like that man's been around forever.
Sheriff is a nice signing at guard. I do like that one. Give Trevor Lawrence a bit more protection there. The rest of it is just who cares really? Like they paying a lot of guys big money that they're not. Luakon, yeah, right, could be good, but I don't see it. I don't think he's worth that money. And Darius Williams again, decent, but is he worth the money he got? And it's fully guaranteed at 80 million, fully guaranteed, max value 39 million. Like that's beefed up with a few incentives in it, like which he probably won't reach, so they'll be all right. But again, they're going to be at the bottom of the barrel, I think, again this year. They're not. They could have a top 5 pick again next year. And I don't know, can you blame Trevor Lawrence for it? Like they're literally not helping him. And the whole coaching situation with Jacksonville last year was a big kind of obstacle in his way and everything. So I think he will work out eventually. I think he's got the quality to work out as an NFL quarterback and be a full-time starter. But if I'm Trevor Lawrence, I'm really thinking like I just got to spend another 4 years here, and then I can leave and go somewhere good.
Just 4 years. He could get the Josh Rosen treatment and be gone in 2.
No, he won't though. Trevor Lawrence he's good. He showed glimpses of it last year. He made some really good throws at certain points last year. He was finding his feet. Rookie QB on one of the worst teams in the league. I know you come with that big. I don't know how would you put it. That big kind of expectation of it. Yeah, as the number 1 overall pick, but like you gotta have something around you too. Like there's guys in the league 10 years who can't win at and without a few good weapons around him. Like, so it's not all his fault. He's not going to pick up Jacksonville and make them great overnight. Like that was never going to happen. And with the way the franchise is currently going, if I'm Lawrence, man, I'm thinking, get me to be 5th-year option that they're probably going to pick up and let me get out of here after that. You know, now they could tag him as well, I suppose. But hopefully nothing like that happens. Like, it'd be nice to see Jacksonville actually get good, like, because they've got people there that you do want to root for, and they've never been very good. So, like, it's always nice to see a team turn it around.
Were they in the AFC Championship game like 3 years ago?
You can't be good and give Christian Kirk a max of $84 million. Yeah. Like, that's just a very poorly ran franchise. That's crazy when you keep giving him. Like, especially in the market of wide receivers that was there this offseason. Tell me they couldn't pay someone an obscene amount of money if you're paying him $84 million. You know, it's just, I don't know.
Hey, you could have got a Mari Cooper for a 5th-round pick.
The Tennessee Titans running back Dontrell Hilliard re-signed with the team. They acquired Robert Woods in a trade from the Rams for a 2023 6th-round pick. That could be good business if Robert Woods comes back from that injury all right. Tight end Austin Hooper was signed on a 1-year, $6 million deal. Tight end Jeff Swaim on a 1-year, $3.5 million extension. Center Ben Jones, offensive lineman Jamarco Jones. That's what Jones is. Morgan Cox has signed a 1-year extension. And then kicker Randy Bullock re-signing on a 2-year, $4.68 million deal. Jamie, do you want to kick off on Robert Woods there? I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about with the Titans. I suppose he's a good compliment to AJ Brown if they get him re-signed as well.
Yeah, I suppose your 2 standouts there really Austin Hooper and Robert Woods. I was surprised the Rams gave away Woods, to be honest. I really thought they'd hold on to him. They really liked him last year.
In fairness, they have 7 other receivers who are good quality.
That's fair. That's a fair point too. Yeah. To be fair, but yeah, like he could do very well with the Titans. So he's really worth. I would think he's probably worth a pickup if no one's picking him up. Pick him up, drop him on your bench for a while, see what he can do. He's very good, especially with the whole AJ Brown thing at the moment. Depending on where he goes, Robert Woods could slot in there very, very quickly as like a number 1 target if he gets healthy. Hooper, good tight end. I think he'd do really well there at the Titans. He'd be nice to see there and actually get a good bit of a chance because he didn't really do very well last year. He was on a bit of a lull, and I thought last year he would do really well. So I think now with the Titans he probably will do. Yeah, I'd say do well there. Other than that, I suppose Randy Bullock obviously is the big name there. Star kicker for Tennessee Titans.
Do you have anything to add, Shane?
No, I think Jamie got it all there. Austin Hooper and my brain's gone. Austin Hooper and what was the wide receiver they got again? Robert Woods, yeah, from the Rams. They just beefed up 2 positions. You know, going back out there again, they're going to try push for it again this year. So I like Tennessee Titans coming into the season. I think should be a good competitive team this year again.
We're going to move on to the big boy division of the NFL now. If you're in this division, you have to really go for everything and just to trade everything you have just to get the pieces you need. Or you could be the Raiders and just, meh. We're going to start with the Denver Broncos. in the big news for the Denver Broncos is QB Josh Johnson signed a 1-year contract. And we'll just skip over the rest of it there now. There's nothing else to talk about with them. Of course, Russell Wilson is the headline, acquired in the trade from the Seattle Seahawks. Offensive tackle, offensive lineman Calvin Anderson and Tom Compton. Offensive lineman Billy Turner. Defensive end Randy Gregory came across from the Cowboys on a 5-year, $70 million deal. They've signed and re-signed a few other defensive pieces there. Nothing huge on the defense, but the defense was just about getting your guys back, really, wasn't it? And then the offense is now ready to kick into gear with Russell Wilson, Shane.
Yeah, Russell Wilson, he's got a decent set of receivers around him. Lost tight end Noah Fant, but I'm sure they'll address that in the draft. Picking up Randy Gregory, he played well for the Cowboys last year. Let's just hope he stays on that kind of pace. Yeah, other than that, Denver looked like they're geared up and they finally got the QB that they wanted to push and go back to where they were under Peyton Manning. So be interesting to see how they go this year.
I may as well just divulge the dynasty trade I made today. And I am well aware I overpaid in this dynasty trade, but I wanted more youth at receiver. So I rolled the dice and I'm going all in on Jerry Jeudy. I traded 2 first-round picks for Jerry Jeudy. I know that's too much. It should have been really a first and a second is the most I should have paid, but I had to go and get my guy because I'm calling my shot because I think my main regret from last year was not like we all should have seen that Matthew Stafford going to the Rams was going to cause Cooper Kupp to explode. We should have known that was going to happen. Looking back on it, it looks stupid. So this morning I decided Russell Wilson going to the Broncos is this year's version of Matthew Stafford going to the Rams. And I think that Jerry Jeudy will be the benefactor. I know there is disagreement around that with the Cortland Sutton contract and Tim Patrick also getting paid. But I love Jerry Jeudy, so I had to pay for him. Do you have any opinions on which offensive piece you think will be the best one, Jamie?
I thought you were going to go with. I thought you were going to say Jeudy was as good as Cup there for a second. It's like,
I think in a roundabout way he kind of did.
I don't really how he's selling this.
I don't think he's as good as Cup, but do you remember the year before Stafford arrived in Los Angeles? Remember Cup had that awful season. Shane, I think you owned him in fantasy, and
I had him every year. Yeah, I had him every year up to last season. I turned around, I said, I think Stafford, I drafted Stafford. I said, Stafford will have a great year at the Rams. I really like Stafford going to the Rams, but I was so sick of owning Cooper Kupp. I was like, and he was there in like the 5th round or something, or the 4th round for me. And I was like, oh, I really need a wide receiver. And I was like, Cooper Kupp was next up on the ADP. And I was like, I am not picking you again. And it was the worst decision I made this year. I picked up Cooper. I didn't pick up Cooper Kupp, and I ended up with who running back Sanders and CH. Oh, it was a god awful year for me.
Yeah, I picked Godwin instead of Kupp, and I picked Gaskin instead of Darrell Henderson. So that's kind of how my season went last year. But back to the question at hand. Like I think it was a throw of the dice. I feel in fantasy sometimes you do have to really throw that dice at times because you just don't know. You can just you can put stats in front of you until the cows come home, but you just don't know who's going to be a good fantasy player. Now, if here, I probably would have been maybe Sutton. Probably not Patrick, really. I think Patrick's more one of those kind of bit par players who doesn't really, who kind of is a little bit inconsistent. But to be fair, Jerry Jeudy could be. He's going to be boom or bust. He's either going to be, you're going to be here in a few months' time laughing us down because you're winning all around us because Jerry Jeudy's like the wide receiver one, or he's just going to.
The guy I made the trade with said the exact same thing right after it. You're either going to look very, very clever or very, very stupid. But he's happy because he's got his 2 first-round picks and he's laughing and fucking all the way home, like because he's got the value out of that and gotten 2 first-round picks. But I just needed to make a bold move and try and keep myself in contention somehow. So I rolled the dice and gone with Judy. Shane, what do you think?
Well, was that your initial trade offer for Judy? Your very first offer was 2 first rounds?
Yeah, I went straight in. I wasn't messing around. I knew it was too much at the start, but I was just like, I'm just going to pay it. Just get it out of the way. Just go 2 first rounds. Because I was originally looking at trading for Devonta Smith. But because Devonta Smith was a rookie from last year, I knew that if I ask for Devonta Smith, they're going to want the first round value back and then some. And I was just kind of like, I don't want to pay more for Devonta Smith because you've got the Jalen Hurts nonsense, and then you've got. I have great faith in Devonta Smith as a player, but like, what's the volume of passing that you're going to get? And
yeah, well, I'd agree with you on that. I wouldn't have paid that for Devonta Smith, but I still wouldn't have paid 2 firsts for Jerry Jeudy. I do agree with everything you've said that he could be like, look, Cooper Kupp showed last year that anyone in the right situation that has talent, and Jerry Jeudy has talent, can blow up. But if I'll even give you a bit, I was going to say top 5, but if Jerry Jeudy isn't top 10 in receiving point or in the receivers next year at the end of the fantasy football season, I'll be on my way to Dublin to you with a barrel to bend you over. Because that's what this trade is.
That sounds way too sexual that you're coming with the barrel.
He's commissioning the barrel right now.
I'm bringing it up. Jamie will bend you over.
Oh, not a fucking second. I just had to agree to this.
Jamie's going to need a few more Jaeger bombs before that happens.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. At least I know your name, I suppose.
Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Chad Henne re-signed a 1-year deal. Ronald Jones has signed a 1-year deal. Prove it deal there for him, $5 million. Corey Coleman signed a deal with the Chiefs. What is Corey Coleman? I thought he died. Wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster signed a 1-year.
Jesus Christ.
Wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster signed a 1-year deal, $10.5 million. Wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling has left the Green Bay Packers and signed a 3-year, $30 million deal. That's a better deal than Christian Kirk. You only paid him $10 million a year for 3 years. Paying Christian Kirk $80 million, like. Tight end Blake Bell re-signs on a free agent deal. Orlando Brown received franchise tag. Defensive end Frank Clark signed a 2-year deal for $29 million. And there's nothing really major than 3-year deal, $31.5 million for Justin Reed at safety. We're kind of expecting more of the same from the Kansas City Chiefs offense, I would imagine. But is Tyreek Hill going to hurt them a lot, Jamie?
Probably, yeah. You'd imagine he will. I like MVS signing, Joe. I do think he's a very underrated wide receiver. I think he could do. He's not going to be Tyreek Hill's levels. I'm not going to say that, but Joe, I think he's a solid replacement for the money they're paying. He's a solid replacement.
The go long guy.
Yeah, I don't think other. What are you laughing at? He's a solid replacement.
You're comparing MVS to Tyreek Hill, and you expect me not to laugh.
I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. I said he's. No, it's not. That's not what I said. I said he wasn't near as good as him, but he's a solid enough replacement of him. He's obviously not going to be a. Right, this is my Jerry Jeudy. I'm gonna go and get MVS in my fantasy team.
We should definitely make a spreadsheet of all the outrageous claims we make throughout the year, and see at the end of the year, just count up how wrong we were.
Yeah, we should do one bold predictions right before the season starts. That I think that will be a good thing to do, and then we should get people who listen in to send in their bold predictions as well. We can make out a chart and see who actually came close to them right and stuff. It'd be good.
Yeah, that's
we already
good
have
on-air
2.
production meeting.
Yeah. But no, the Chiefs, man. I think for me that like I've criticized Mahomes in the past because he's had a lot of weapons, and I find just because he has a big arm, like yeah, he throws some fancy passes, the no looks, the sidearms and stuff. He's got talent. I never ever said he didn't have talent, but it's very easy to be like people compare him with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, and they're putting him in that conversation after only a couple of years in the league. I don't think he is that yet. I think he's got the talent to be there, but I don't think he is that yet. I think this season is going to be a big step for Mahomes in his career because he doesn't have the same kind of weapons he's always had. He's missing a few guys, and it'll like you go from having Hill there, like, and now you're throwing to guys like Juju and MVS. Like Juju hasn't been relevant since his season with Antonio Brown at the Steelers, and MVS was never relevant. So, like, you're going to try and make those two guys, one of them has to step up and replace Tyreek Hill. That's not going to happen. So, without the downfield speed to burn every defense you come across, what is the point in having that big arm that can overthrow everything? Because, like, defenses will be able to close down the space on Kelsey now, and it won't be as easy for him to just have one guy double down the field the whole time. So I think it's a real interesting season for the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, and I'd like to see how he does, and hopefully he does play well and they do keep going. Like it, because the more top tier quarterbacks we have, the better the league is. Like I don't want to see him crumble either. Like as much as I've criticized him, I don't like how people put him in that conversation with the top quarterbacks we've ever seen. That's my issue with Mahomes. But it's an interesting one for the Chiefs this year, I think.
I'm going to cut across you there. We're going to go to the next top-rated QB we have. So it's the Las Vegas Raiders with Derek Carr signing a 3-year extension, $121.5 million. And it includes a no-trade clause. What? QB Garrett Gilbert signs a free agent deal, and QB Nick Mullins signs a free agent deal. Amir Abdullah is still in the league, apparently. He signed with the Raiders. Brandon Bolden has signed a free agent contract with the Raiders. Jacob Johnson signs with the Raiders at fullback. Devontae Adams is acquired in a trade. Demarcus Robinson is signed on a free agent contract. Tight end Jacob Hollister has signed a 1-year deal. Max Crosby signed at the end for what? 4 years, $98.98 million contract extension. Jesus, I did not realize they paid him that much. Chandler Jones signs a deal worth roughly $52.5 million over 3 years, including $34 million guaranteed. They've signed a few defensive pieces, and they got Rocky Sin in that trade we were talking about earlier with the Colts. Jamie, we'll go to you. Devontae Adams, truther. What do you think of the Raiders going forward next year?
Adams is useless. He's not much of a wide receiver, like so. MVS is the man.
Even he's still not with you.
I know, Jesus. Obviously Adams is going to do really well here. He's one of the top wide receivers in the league, and he probably will be top 5 this year again. Easy, even with Carr there. But Jesus, didn't the Raiders throw out a lot of money there this year? How does it out all that money? Like, how did Carr go 121? Was it Adams 141? And then the 2 defensive backs? Jesus. But yeah, Adams is the big trade there, really, isn't he? Like, he's going to be the make or break of the Raiders, really. They needed a wide receiver. They got the wide receiver. It's a good bit of business from the Raiders. Fair play to them. All the best, Adams. So enjoy your time on the strip, I suppose.
Enjoy that Grand Prix in 4 years.
Yeah.
Shane, what do you think of Derek Carr? 3 years, 121.5.
Yeah, a lot of money for like Derek Carr had a season there where everyone thought like he was competing for the MVP, and ever since the injury and he's come back, he hasn't ever replicated that form. So Derek Carr, for me, look, they're building up the weapons around him. Maybe this year is kind of a no excuse year now for him as well. Hopefully, I'd like to see Derek Carr do well. I like him. Seems like a nice guy, but hasn't really shown what we all thought he was and hoped that he was at one point. So it's a make or break year for Derek Carr. That's probably why that no trade clause was thrown in there in case he screwed up. But Devontae Adams, brilliant pickup. Demarcus Robinson, handy bit part player to bring in, good speed. Max Crosby definitely deserved the extension that he got, even though he had a few bad injuries in his career. Chandler Jones, really good pickup. I like it. I like what they've done. It's a very competitive division. It'll be interesting to see. There has to be 2 teams come out of this division surely for the playoffs next season. So it'll be interesting to see which 2 it is.
This could easily be the first division we see 4 teams. That is mathematically possible. I thought the NFC West might do it last year, but the AFC West might get to it this year.
But that's under the new playoff setup, isn't it? That's actually possible now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's still very, very difficult to do, but you can do it. You just have to win all of your out of division games, essentially.
Wow.
That brings us neatly to the Chargers, and the last team we're going to talk about. We've run way over here, but the Chargers are, very low key, so we don't have to worry about them too much. Quarterback Chase Daniels is signed as the backup. He's re-signing there. Wide receiver DeAndre Carter signs a 1-year deal. Mike Williams is re-signed 3 years, $60 million. Tight end Gerald Everett. A few defensive linemen. Khalil Mack is acquired in a trade from the Chargers. Not from the Chargers, to the Chargers. J.C. Jackson signs a 5-year, $82.5 million deal. And then kicker Dustin Hopkins re-signs on a multi-year contract. So they've shored up the defense a little bit more to an already strong defense. The offense hasn't really changed much. It's more the same, but Gerald Everett might be interesting at the back of your drafts in redraft leagues. I could see that happening. Shane, do you have anything to end on the Chargers then today?
Yeah, I think you got it there. Gerald Everett, nice. Could be a nice late pickup for people at the end of their drafts. Might be an interesting guy to try trade for at the minute if you're struggling for a tight end, because we've seen it from Herbert. He will get the ball out and he'll find his targets. And Mike Williams and Keenan Allen been there. They're going to take up most of them, but I think Everett could have a really good year there. Again, picked up nice on the defense. Khalil Mack has gone to another competitive team, but again, another guy who was drafted high and he's been traded around a lot now. So how do we feel about guys that get traded like that? I don't know, but back in his old division, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on.
Jamie, anything to add to the Chargers at the end?
Nothing really. Just delight for Mike Williams. He deserved that kind of money. Good wide receiver. Happy for him. You're probably right about the tie into Everett. Probably a good pickup there for someone. Could do very well there. Just Herbert loves to throw the ball around.
You had a bit of horror with Mike Williams last year, didn't you?
I did, but I still like Mike. So fair play, Mike. You're still a good wide receiver, just very inconsistent at times.
Well, in fairness, he was consistent. He was brilliant for 4 weeks, and then just had 6 weeks off.
Yeah. And I had Williams and Allen, and that was just a headache that nobody wanted to
have. We'll end the show there then. I think we have run way over. We were supposed to do this. We said in our pre-show chat this would be a quick one this week, and we'd be through it in no time, but we didn't get through it at all.
We talk a lot of shit through here.
Okay, guys, we're gonna sign off then, and we'll check back in next week before the draft. So next week's episode is probably going to be, just us talking about the draft and whatever trades have happened pre-draft in the leagues. But I'd say listen to next week quickly because it'll go out of date very quickly. Say goodbye, fellas, and we'll wrap it up.
Look, guys, talk to you next week.
Adios.
Toodles.